Yeah, I just see the message. Yeah, sure. CC1, can you hear me now?
I think it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So I was saying that if you find it a bit weird to staring someone in front of the camera, it's going to be written all over your face. And if you think about it from an interviewer's perspective, they will find it a little bit come across as a little bit uncomfortable as well, right? And you wouldn't want that to happen. So I think one good practice is literally just record yourself in front of the camera when you are practicing for interview questions. I think that's one good way to come off as natural. And I also know that one big temptation for people to do it is if you are doing some sort of technical interview, it's very tempting to try to look off some notes, look off the computer, or try to have a calculator on the side to press the calculator buttons. But so my advice is that I know it seems like a good way and very reasonable way to cheat. Just try not to prepare. I'm not saying this because the interviewers might notice, but I'm saying that if you actually do this, you might come off with quite unnatural, and that's something that might turn your interviewers off a little bit, and they might catch stuff like this. So it's just make sure that everything you do for a video interview, you do the same as an in-person interview. You have to treat it as a new norm now.
That's good. Is there any suggestion from you, Ari?
No, I mean, absolutely echo what Darren said again. I know you asked about technical skills specifically. I suppose those really relate to each job, right? So, for example, if you apply for an IBD role, right, you're gonna be able to run the recruiter or the manager through a DCF or a comparable analysis. So those are job-specific things that you want to know. Then more generally, I suppose, data analysis or analytical skills, or Python is the new. Everyone thinks that Python is a must. Yeah, that's good, but I'm a massive believer of the attitude and those competency skills rather than the technical skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone has to be able to do the job, but and these are equally important. But I'll speak from my experience at RBC. I truly don't think that they hire necessarily for the skills as such. For me, it's more about the attitude and how you approach the things and the problems. Be resilient, be open to learn, adaptable, because a hiring manager, we've got to remember, right? He's looking to hire someone with whom he's going to spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day. He or she, anyone can teach the skills to do the job. However, the attitude and the approach to how to deal with problems and difficult situations, that you're going to have beforehand, right? You can't really teach that one. When it comes to skills about the interview itself, you got to do your research, right? Know where you're applying and why you're applying. Why would I like to work at RBC versus other banks? Why would I want to work and apply for a particular role within RBC versus any other department within RBC, right? What does this department do versus other departments? Who are the clients of this department? Just be curious, ask questions. If you don't know something, be open and honest, even in the interview, right? You'd rather do that than make up something that it's a long shot. It might work for you, but chances are it won't. And the interviewer, and the manager are some guys that spent 10, 20 years in the industry. So they've got the answer, you don't, and you just try to make up something that might not work and it's going to look bad. Now back to your initial question about COVID and whether that changed. I don't think it changed from a process point of view. I think banks and certainly RBC are trying to stick to the same model. They've got the phone interviews, the assessment centers, the tests, so there's still ways to assess people. And it's just removed this personal interaction. So we moved from, especially when it comes to the final stage, where you were invited in the office and had the assessment center in the office and get to meet the people and the culture, because it's a two-way process, right? You're being assessed, but you also assess whether the company is a good fit for you. Now you don't have that, and everything is virtual and remote, so it's a little bit trickier to find out whether that company is a good fit for you. But I don't think it's changed massively. So candidates still need to be prepared, still have to do whatever they did before. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I have one question. If I am an engineer student, do you think it's possible for me to find a job in banking? Is it possible?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll speak from my experience. I'm sure a lot of people on the call can validate that. Although I did maths and stats at university, right? So my degree was mathematics and statistics. I don't apply any of those skills on a daily basis, right? I don't solve differential equations or partial differential equations. I don't deal with integrals or any of that. I don't use algebra or any of those skills. I think it's all about the thinking and how you approach problems rather than the actual skills themselves. So absolutely, I would say, if anything, engineering, you've got an advantage over so many candidates out there.
Yeah. So, do you think some related internship experience would help based right now? And also, yeah, and also
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and also during current situations, we cannot go to the office. All the internship we can have is more like all online internships. So do you think it's useful? I mean, sometimes we just doing some Excel or PowerPoint slides, and that's all for the internship, especially right now. So do you think it's still useful for us to find something like this?
I mean, the most obvious answer would be, why not, right? And what else? It's a good thing. It's a good practice to get used to what it looks like. Although things have definitely changed since pro-COVID, and maybe some aspects of the job, as you said, dealing with spreadsheets and PowerPoints. I certainly think that it's really useful and really good to have on your CV, but also give you the experience and the exposure you wanna have, right? Because banking is not for everyone, right? We got to remember that we're in the middle of a pandemic, so banks are trying their best. Now, if the trade-off is just dealing with spreadsheets and PowerPoints because of the situation, let be it. I would still go for it. I think it's huge experience and exposure to have on your CV. It's a really good thing, something to talk about in future interviews. It's always good to talk about relevant past experience than have nothing and be like, yeah, I want to learn about X, Y, Z, but I don't really have the validation, right? A past internship with a different company is a validation. So absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the sharing. So I think that's all the questions from my part. Let's see, now we have 6 joiners. So do we have any question from the joiners or audience? You can speak loudly or tap in the chat box. Let's wait and see some questions.
I have a question on the guys. So how do you see banking changing after the pandemic? Or for example, how do you see things in the next 5 or maybe 10 years? Do you think there will be more flexibility, or do you think that the whole banking industry will be kind of reshaping or restructuring?
I can go first, Darren. Happy for you if you want to go first. Yeah, happy to go first. I think it's going to change. It has to change because the competition is all those tech companies and fintech, right? So they got to change. They got to introduce the hybrid model, although I don't think it's going to happen as quickly and as rapidly as in the tech space. But they got to offer the flexibility to their employees to work from wherever they want and in whichever way they want to. Otherwise, they're just going to lose it to the competition, right? The model itself is changing, right? The traditional retail banking and personal banking, we've got all of those fintech, growing, and I think if they don't offer the same kind of flexibility, they're gonna have to deal with a massive competition, because all of those other guys out there, they started changing it already. Now, in terms of products, how is that gonna change because of the pandemic, or more in general?
No, it's general. I mean, in terms of strategy, in terms of culture in banking, and
yeah, I mean, strategy, right? There's ESG, and there's crypto assets, and everyone talking about those buzzwords. But I can absolutely validate that it is happening and it's coming, because more and more clients are asking for those things, right? You've got a high net worth individual that just happens to have, a hard drive with a bunch of Bitcoins, and all of a sudden moving from, all right, I've got a drive with Bitcoins, how do I deal with that? He's coming to a bank asking for a custody service for that bunch of Bitcoin.